You sit down to a meal you have eaten your whole life. Maybe it is a bowl of rice. Maybe it is a baked potato. The meal feels familiar and safe. But lately you have noticed something. Your energy crashes about an hour later, or your next morning glucose reads higher than you expected. And you begin to wonder if something on your plate is working against you. If you are over 60 and tracking your blood sugar, this question has probably crossed your mind. Rice or potatoes? Which one is better for you? The answer is more interesting than most people expect. You are not alone in asking this. And the answer has everything to do with how your body processes starch after 60. Meet Margaret. She is 62 years old and lives outside Tampa, Florida. 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with pre-diabetes and manages it with metformin. Every morning, she checks her glucose before breakfast. Some mornings, the number looks fine. Other mornings, it is 10 or 15 points higher, and she cannot explain why. Margaret eats reasonable meals. She walks regularly. But she has started questioning everything on her plate, including the rice and potatoes she has eaten her whole life. Many adults quietly notice this same pattern, but rarely talk about it. After 60, the way your body handles carbohydrates begins to shift. It is not a failure of discipline. It is biology. Your muscle tissue, which is one of the main places your body stores blood sugar, tends to decrease with age. That means there is less room to absorb glucose after a meal. At the same time, insulin, the hormone that moves sugar from your blood into your cells, becomes slightly less efficient. Doctors call this insulin resistance, which simply means insulin has a harder time doing its job. The result is that a meal which felt fine at 45 may produce a noticeably larger blood sugar rise at 62. You may feel that familiar afternoon fog, a heaviness after lunch, energy that simply disappears. These are not random complaints. They often reflect real changes in how your body processes the carbohydrates on your plate. We are looking for patterns here, not one number. Now let us talk about rice and potatoes specifically. Both are starchy carbohydrates. Both raise blood sugar. But the degree and speed of that rise depends on a measurement called the glycemic index. You might notice something interesting if you begin watching your meter more closely. Two people can eat the exact same bowl of rice and see very different readings afterward. One person may rise only slightly. Another may see a much larger increase. This difference often comes down to what doctors call metabolic context, the conditions inside the body at that moment. Sleep the night before, stress levels, muscle mass, and even how active you were earlier that day all influence how your body handles starch. This is why focusing on patterns over time is far more helpful than reacting to a single reading. That is simply a number that tells you how quickly a food raises blood sugar compared to pure glucose. White rice has a glycemic index in the higher range. It digests quickly and sends glucose into your bloodstream in a relatively short window. This can produce a noticeable rise followed by a drop, the kind of pattern that leads to that tired, foggy feeling about an hour after eating. White potatoes also score high on the glycemic index. Baked or mashed potatoes can raise blood sugar quite rapidly. However, here is the part many people do not realize. When potatoes are cooked and then cooled, as in a potato salad eaten the next day, something important happens. A portion of the starch converts into what scientists call resistant starch. Resistant starch behaves more like fiber. It moves through your system more slowly. It produces a gentler blood sugar response. The same effect can occur with rice. Rice cooked, cooled, and reheated the following day also develops more resistant starch than freshly cooked rice. So the question is not simply rice or potatoes. The question is how they are prepared, how much you eat, and what you eat alongside them. A small portion of cooled potato with a source of protein and non-starchy vegetables will raise blood sugar far more gently than a large serving of freshly mashed potato eaten alone. The same logic applies to rice. Portion, preparation, and food pairing matter as much as the food itself. Another factor that influences how rice or potatoes affect blood sugar is how quickly the meal is eaten. When a meal is consumed rapidly, glucose can enter the bloodstream faster than the body can comfortably manage. Slower eating changes this dynamic. When food is eaten slowly, the digestive process becomes more gradual. Hormones involved in appetite and glucose regulation have more time to respond. Many adults are surprised to see that simply slowing down a meal, taking time to chew and pause between bites, can produce a noticeably smoother glucose curve afterward. This brings us to habits that genuinely support stable blood sugar after meals. The first is to never eat starchy carbohydrates alone. Pair rice or potato with protein, healthy fat, or fiber. Protein slows digestion. Fat slows glucose absorption. Fiber buffers the response. A plate that includes all of these will produce a much smoother blood sugar curve than carbohydrates eaten by themselves. The second habit is a short walk after eating. Even a 10-minute walk following a meal can meaningfully reduce the post-meal blood sugar rise. Your muscles use glucose during movement. That gentle activity gives the glucose somewhere to go. Consistency here matters more than intensity. A short daily walk after lunch is worth more than an occasional long workout. The third habit is watching portion size with starches. A smaller serving of rice or potato, paired well and eaten slowly, will almost always produce a gentler response than a large serving eaten quickly. Certain nutrients support this process from the inside. Magnesium plays an important role in how cells respond to insulin. Many adults over 60 are mildly low in magnesium without knowing it, and this can affect glucose regulation. Berberine is a plant compound that has been studied for its ability to support healthy blood sugar levels by influencing how cells take up glucose. Chromium is a trace mineral that helps insulin work more effectively. These three nutrients appear frequently in glucose support research. Other nutrients like gymnema and eleuthero can further aid glucose uptake and adaptation. If you are tracking your blood sugar and looking for a simple way to organize your patterns, I created a printable protocol guide that many viewers find helpful. Page 2 includes a tracking matrix designed specifically for monitoring blood sugar responses across different meals and times of day. You can use it to start noticing which foods, portions, and habits produce the most stable readings for your body. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always speak with your healthcare professional before making changes to your health routine. Margaret eventually realized her post-meal readings were not random. They reflected patterns she had never been shown before. The rice she was eating was freshly cooked, eaten alone, and served in a generous portion. Small adjustments, a smaller serving, a protein alongside it, a short walk afterward, began to change the pattern she saw on her meter. The biology of blood sugar after 60 is real, but it is not beyond your influence. Rice and potatoes are not the enemy. How you prepare them, portion them, and pair them makes an enormous difference. Small changes repeated consistently can make a meaningful difference.